this is the Fujifilm X-T5 with the kit lens 18 to 55mm. The Fujifilm X-T5, it's got those analog dials on top of the camera which everyone's very familiar with, and I love being able to just dial in the camera settings on the camera itself with those tactile feelings. The exposure compensation dial, it's a little bigger than I remember from my X-T2, but I feel like this is the perfect size for exposure compensation dial. The two command dials on the back and the front can now be pushed in as a button, which is a great idea for extra functions. And of course we have the iconic autofocus selector right in the front of the camera. The joystick has got a nice touch to it, however I feel like all of the buttons on the X-T5 feels a bit plasticky. I do like how you can switch between photos and videos with an actual switch on top. However, the Fujifilm X-T5 is now being marketed as like a photography first camera. So as you can see, we have like a three-way tilt again compared to the flip out screen on the X-T4, and this is very familiar to the X-T2 and the X-T3. The three-way tilt screen is now back. I think it's great that they're trying to differentiate their product line, where the X-T5, the X-T series is specifically for photography, and the X-Pro series are for people who want to use rangefinders. As for the X-H2 and the 2S, they're more like a hybrid, which they're really good at photos and videos. So if you're looking for a more affordable hybrid camera, you have to look at the Fujifilm X-S10. I feel like that lineup feels more similar to kind of like the X-T30 and compared to, X-T5. So essentially the X-S10 is the budget version for the X-H2 and the 2S. But who knows, I could be completely wrong about this. Maybe they have like a totally different plan. But either way, the fact that they took away the flip out screen is quite clear that the X-T5 is not a hybrid camera, even though it does still have very capable video functions. However, there's no headphone jack for you to monitor the audio, but they did include this USB-C to a headphone jack in a box if you ever need to use it. And there's a crop with 4K over sample. You can also shoot in f-log too if you want. It's kind of like all of the functions are there, but we're gonna just kind of like dial it down a bit, kind of cripple it. And to that, I feel like the Fujifilm X-T4 is more than good enough for lots of potential customers out there. There's no crop with 4K over sample. You also get this flip out screen that you can record yourself on if you need to. The photo capability is also very, very good. And no, it doesn't have like 40 megapixels like the X-T5 does. But come on, it's megapixels. So I say the Fujifilm X-T4 might be a better choice for you if you're looking for more like a hybrid camera where it's very good at both photos and video. And now looking back, it seems like the Fujifilm X-T4, it's just a mistake, because it's very clear that Fujifilm is trying to differentiate different camera bodies for different type of shooters by both limiting the internal functions as well as the physical appearances. or more like physical functions to be exact. And I'm not saying that the 3-way tilt is bad or anything. If you're coming from the X-T2 like me or the X-T3, this is gonna feel very familiar. And by the way, there's no more connection at the bottom of the camera, so you can't attach a vertical battery grip to the Fujifilm X-T5. Now what I really like about Fujifilm cameras is that right now we're on the Trans 5 sensor on the X-T5, which is the same as the X-H2S as well as the X-H2. And eventually the same sensor will come down to all of the other Fujifilm bodies in the future. So now it's really up to the users to pick whichever camera that suits their shooting style best. Maybe it's the grip, maybe it's how they look through the viewfinder. Maybe you like using the rangefinder, so now the X Pro 3 will be the one to get, or maybe wait for the successor of that. As for the film simulation, the X-T5 has the same ones as the X-T4. And I do like how it shows you the tone curve whenever you're changing the highlights and the shadows for your recipe. I don't think I saw that on my friend's X Pro 3, but it should be a fairly easy firmware update fix. The Fujifilm X-T5 actually has this record frame indicator, and essentially what it does is that whenever you're recording, usually it shows you this red blinking dot on the screen. But because it's so small on the screen, it's kind of hard to see. So now the indicator is all the way around the LCD screen. As I was trying to set up the camera to how I like to shoot, I noticed there are two functions inside this camera that shouldn't even be there in the first place anymore. The first one is shoot without lens. If you have this function off, you won't be able to shoot with any of the third-party lens that's manual focus only, or any of the vintage lens that you could possibly pair up with your Fujifilm, because nothing will happen whenever you press the shutter. It just won't click. Maybe there is a reason for that function to still exist on the camera. So if you know the answer, definitely comment down below. I would love to know and understand why that's still there, because I have no idea why that's still there, and it doesn't even tell you why it's not taking photos. And the other one is shoot without an SD card. You definitely want to turn that off, because if you leave it on and you somehow one day forgot to insert an SD card in your camera, and you go out there, start shooting for the whole day, for the whole event or whatever that you're shooting, you come back without a single photo in your camera.
Emotional damage!
And that's the only two gripes I have as of now. I only had the camera for about a day now, and it's really fun to play around with the film simulations as well as making my own recipe. I did try a few today, and also another one at night. I was trying to kind of mimic that Cine Still 800T look. I feel like it's definitely doable. I just need to make some more tweaks to it, and if I eventually figure it out, I'll definitely share it with you guys. But I have to say, to me, this is a huge upgrade from the Fujifilm X-T2. There's so much more functions now, as well as a lot more film simulations. And there's also a lot more different ways that you can customize your recipe, which is very exciting.